And so welcome everybody. We are here today to hear from Marisa van der Merwe and her team about the amazing work that MiniChess is doing around the country to strengthen creativity and innovation and very important mental skills and all sorts of amazing things. So Marisa, I'm going to stop talking and hand over directly to you and your team, and we look forward to learning more about what you're up to.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, so we are part of a social enterprise, just to introduce ourselves. We've got a non-profit leg, the Entrust Foundation, that takes this program also to communities who cannot afford. We link up with corporate sponsors to take it to them, which is very important for us. We also service self-paying schools and self-paying communities with this learning through play program. So MiniChess is not a chess coaching program, although the kids also learn how to play this age-old game very well. But the main purpose of the MiniChess program is to upskill the young minds of our country, and not only our country. I see there are people here actually from Botswana and other countries as well. It is about teaching our children skills that are not in the school curriculum. And there is a lot of very important skills that's not included in the school curriculum. How that happens is because curriculum changes slowly, of course, but the demands of the workplace and the demands of the world out there are changing very fast. And those skills, the difference between what students, scholars and students learn in schools and institutions and what the workplace demand of them, that is called the skills gap. And in that skills gap, it's a global skills gap. And in that skills gap is where the MiniChess program and our other program, MindCo, which is for young adults and young leaders in corporate, also short courses working through play. Our programs actually function inside that space of the global skills gap. So I'd like to share with you what we are doing with an age-old game in a modern world. Well, this game, using chess as a learning platform, this game is a very, very rich learning platform. And it teaches very effectively. It teaches life skills, decision-making, critical thinking skills, very importantly, creative problem-solving, socio-emotional skills that we built into our program, like impulse control, resilience. After I make a mistake, it's not the end of the game. I can still come back. Emotional awareness of self and people around me. And then also you will see, and I'm going to show some slides, you will see how we use the chessboard without the pieces as a number grid and a spatial grid. So our MiniChess program focuses on 4 to 9-year-old children. It's a very important part of early brain development. We see the MiniChess program as a brain development program using clever play as the platform for learning. So that's just an introduction of who we are. We'd like to share, maybe, can I share my screen, Louise, just to show some visuals?
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm going on quickly. And share. I hope that you can see clearly. And so this is what it's all about. It's about helping our children, supporting our children so that when they leave school, and first of all, that they don't drop out of school, because we really impact mathematics and academic results. We correct early developmental backlogs for school readiness. There's a lot of benefits that we bring our children in a playful, fun way. They think they're only playing, but we are actually empowering them for a fast-changing world with critical skills. And so this program is about that. So I'm quickly going to just go through some slides. I'm going to share 2 slides with you. That's not our slides, the World Economic Forum slides. The first slide is about the fast-changing nature of the work space which we have to prepare our children for, because young kids sitting in front of the class at the moment, they will only join the workplace 15 to 20 years from now. But we as educators and parents, we don't know even what the workplace would look like. They say 15 years from now, about 50% of the jobs that currently exist are not even going to exist anymore because of machine impact. So what is it that we have to teach our children if the workplace is changing so fast? It's not clear. It's not clear for us, but what we do know that we have to teach them is we have to teach them the things that machines cannot do, not rote memory information drop down. No, we have to bring think skills, problem solving, resilience, emotional skills to be able to work with people. Those skills are not actually inside the school curriculum, and this is what our program brings. So the schools, we work with private schools and poor schools. The schools where we are, our program is an education innovation, education enrichment program for 21st century success. So the World Economic Forum was showing in this little graph here that from the first to the second industrial revolution, it took about 60, 70 years. But from the second to the third industrial revolution, the coming of computers in the workplace, it was only about 50 years. And then from the third industrial revolution to the fourth, where we are now with smart machines and robots entering the workplace, that was only about 20 years. So the tempo of change in the workplace is very high. We all know about the banking sector about a year ago, how internet banking and ATMs and the coming of machines into the banking sector, how that changed the sector completely. And about half of all banking branches actually closed down and people lost their jobs. So that is actually starting to have an impact in all sectors of the workplace. And we have to be aware of that if we are in the education sphere, so that we don't teach our children things that actually was useful 20 years ago, but it's not no longer useful. Then this last 2 trends that they share that I just want to use as introduction is that they found, the World Economic Forum found that 75% of the fastest growing jobs in the 21st century will require STEM skills. And STEM skills, of course, stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. So all 4 of those skills are math-based. And if our children are having trouble with math, like we have currently in our country, that many doors in the workplace will simply close for them. And that is something that we feel adamant that we want to make a difference. We don't want to let our kids leave school with a paper where actually it doesn't open doors for them. I heard a wonderful definition of education earlier this week that says education is not about information dump and you giving me answers on facts that you've learned. That's not education. Education is about opening doors for our children. That's what education is about. So the last one, oh yeah, I just want to go back quickly. What the World Economic Forum also found is that spatial ability at a young age, and I'm just going to go back because we did a study on that I'd like to share with you. Spatial ability in children at a young age is a very strong indication of who will go into STEM fields later. So I'm going to share a study with you on that very soon. That's a very important thing to remember, because in our country, we've got endemic spatial backlogs. And the last trend that the World Economic Forum indicated, they said that think skills, invention and innovation, those are think skills, including agility and adaptability of thinking, will be essential for the economic survival of companies, but also of countries, but also individuals in the 21st century. And I want to share something with you in corporates that we are talking with, who are sponsoring our programs to roll out in disadvantaged communities. They mentioned that in the 1960, 1970, they used to do IQ tests, which was an indication of a person's ability to learn information. And then later in the early 2000s, then they did a lot of EQ testing on applicants for jobs. But currently, they're doing a lot of AQ tests. And the AQ stands for agility coefficient, because it's very important for people to be adaptive in this fast changing world that we live in. So I thought that would be interesting. And our program, our MiniChess program, actually developed mathematics, spatial ability, and think skills purposefully and very effectively. I'm going to share the results of our studies with you shortly. So when we look at the fast changing workplace we have to prepare our youngsters for, where a paper at the end of matric is no longer enough at all. They need skills to be added onto the knowledge. These indicators are, the fact is, machines will do in the 21st century workplace what machines can do, becoming a workforce of the future. And that is a good thing. It's not a threat for us. It's a benefit for us. We just need to learn to work with them. The implication of that is that our teaching and training of the next generation must prioritize what's called critical skills of the 21st century, the things that machines cannot do. It doesn't help us to, it's been the car. When the car was coming in the beginning of the 1900s, the car came, and many people said, oh, this is very dangerous. I don't want to get into the, I can go on my horse, or I can go. Well, we are all now going with cars. The thing is, it's better to learn to work with the machines that is available to us. What are these things that machines can't do? I'm just giving a few examples that we have to teach our children. Value-based decision-making. Machines don't understand that. They don't know what they value for people. Auto values-based, they don't understand. Machines can only do what they are programmed to do. So they don't understand value and values. Also, they don't understand creative problem solving. They don't understand entrepreneurial thinking. The workplace of the future will be entrepreneurial because big companies are automating. So they're no longer the big employers that they were in the previous century. The workplace will be very much entrepreneurial, where people have to see, in my community, this and this and this is a need in my community, and I can service this need, or I can solve this problem and put it into a package that is in a sustainable business model. That is entrepreneurial thinking. Where are my opportunities? Where are my risks? And we actually purposefully train that situation analysis thinking in our MiniChess game. We build the neural pathways in the brains of children through our gameplay. Social and emotional skills will be very important in the workplace of the future. And machines, of course, cannot assist with that, as is also creativity. The unfortunate fact is that very little of these skills are actually taught in our schools and institutions. And that is why our program is valuable to schools, to enrich their curriculum. We make a big difference when we get into schools. So what is MiniChess then? MiniChess is a brain training program to build human capacity. We're investing in people. MiniChess develop critical skills through play, and we focus on the foundation phase of learning, because that's where we can make the biggest long-term impact. If we start young, we build the neural pathways that children will use for the rest of their lives. We focus mainly on 3 skill sets. The critical think skills, those are problem solving, decision making, forward planning, risk identification. We do it in a gameplay model, but we develop those neural pathways for young brains. The brain develops mostly very effectively at this young age, and we need to build those neural pathways at this age. And the social-emotional skills, we talked about it already. We focus on that as well as number skills. I'm going to show you some photos of this. And we are a neuro-based training program. We use, and every single lesson of the MiniChess program include all 7 main learning styles. It means we put on the brain, we switch it on, because the child who has got who is a more oral learner, we switch it on because we've got those singing and rhymes and things that they do in the class. It's a very busy class. It doesn't look like a normal class. Visual stimulation, make sure that the visual brain is activated, the auditive brain, the tactile brain. Our children move around, they touch things, they move things. Social learning, we do a lot of things in social. I'm going to show you a video just as example. Also logical individual work, our children do that as well. And then kinetic. I don't know if you know, but educational psychologists find that the 21st century child is a lot more kinetic. He wants to move to learn. He doesn't want to sit on a chair and listen. He wants to do things. And this is what we do in our MiniChess classes. Children learn by doing. And that is the opportunity we give them. So just some visuals of how we use the chess board, even without the pieces, as a number grid with magnetic cards. Here children are packing patterns on these with magnetic cards on the magnetic board. Pattern recognition is a very important skill for young children to learn because it's the beginning of problem solving. So we do a lot of pattern recognition. Also, our children do data comparison with their bodies on the big mat first before they go onto the demo board with the magnetic cards. We do lines of symmetry. We do coordinates with the children. They don't even realize it's mathematics. But for instance, for the youngsters, even preschool, they go on a big mat with their bodies, the one walking on the C file, the other coming from the 4th rank. Where they meet, the address is C4. And our children understand a lot of mathematical concepts through play. And they love to do it. They don't even realize it's mathematics, but they're very clever. They get very clever. So this is just some videos from schools where MiniChess is inside the school curriculum. And then they have inter-class little tournaments. And while I'm sharing this photo with you, is these kids, you will look on their boards, they are playing a mini game. Mini games are games that we designed. It's where our name comes from, MiniChess. We designed games that lower the complexity or the barrier to entrance for children into the game. They don't play with all the games. All the pieces they play. This game is pawn soccer. They just play with the kings and the pawns, and the first pawn on the other side wins. So, but although it's a simple game to learn, it's also short games, it's not long, but they have to get the obstacles out of the way. They have to make a plan. The king is like a goalie, he has to stop the opponent pawns while assisting his own pawns. So they are just having a lot of fun. You'll see children enjoy while they play. But while they play these very simple games, they are planning ahead. They are implementing their plan. They are adjusting their plan depending on where the risk lies. They have to do a lot of higher order think skills. But through simple games, we're actually making them very clever. We've got a big mat as well. The children are very engaged. They pack all kinds of things, diagonals. They walk on files and ranks. They walk on diagonals. There's a teacher in discussion with a learner. He's a kinetic learner, so she's holding his arms to remind him that the pawn moves forward, but it attacks diagonally. And there's in a discussion. You'll always see our children are always engaged into the lesson, very engaged. This is a photo from Northwest Province. The kids are sitting playing there. They're mini games here. And you will see that all the children are engaged. So the power of our tool is that whether they are stronger players looking deeper into the position or beginners, not only looking 1 or 2 moves ahead, they are all stretched and they are all engaged. We have got a very strong culture of behavior against our gameplay, respect for our opponent, appreciation for having an opponent to play with, and so on. Also, essential 21st century skill is tech introduction. This is very important. Also in disadvantaged communities, this was part of a pilot study 2 years ago in Limpopo, where we link the children's 3-dimensional concrete experience with their body on the big mat and on the board to a tablet, a game, the MiniChess by Kasparov tablet game, where they then get instruction in English, 81 mini games. So we link it from the 3D concrete world to the abstract application on 2D, on board and on screen. And we make them screen comfortable. The instructions are in English, so we also introduce English to them. Then we also follow on that with a MiniChess and coding program, because MiniChess teaches children to have a sequential forward-thinking process that they develop. They can visualize, they can plan ahead, and those are skills that are very important in coding. Coding, of course, is also a critical 21st century skill. With the children stand unplugged on the big mat with their bodies, and then we go also on the chessboard, and then we start with the smart bot that they program. He's got a special mat on which it's moving before they go onto the tablet for coding programs like Introduction to Scratch and other coding programs, visual coding programs that we introduce them to. So I can share with you a little video from a university study. It's almost the end of my presentation. This is just to show, I'm going to speak you through it. This was an informal settlement in Duduza in Tembisa with grade R children in the middle of their grade R year. We take them off the chairs. Our children are not sitting on chairs. They are busy. They're moving whatever we have. We use our spaces, whatever we have. They go up and down. They go forward and backward. They go inside. They go over and under. All kinds of spatial activities. We do a lot of social learning and shape recognition, where the children engage with each other and talk and sing and rhyme together with their friends. A lot of social learning that we do. They also have little book work where they do individual work. This is some of our equipment that we use. I've already mentioned in magnetic board, magnetic pieces, where the children have to make the link from the big mat to the demo board and then onto paper. Very important spatial stimulation. This is also a spatial activity, identifying the middle. And of course, the middle, to find the middle, we have to count both sides. What happens on one side has to happen. And the kids always love our programs. They love it. They think they just come to play. You can ask them. Oh, yeah, we love the play. We even have schools where the absenteeism goes to 0% on MiniChess days because they absolutely love to come and play. This is where we taught them division and fraction. We start in the three-dimensional real world with food before we go to paper. Very important to have that spatial engagement. All our lessons work in a spatial system, from three-dimensional concrete to two-dimensional on paper, to develop perceptual concepts and perceptual ability. And then the children have to apply their knowledge. So they have to find the queen side and the king side of the board, or the white territory and the black territory. And they could all do it, although they've never heard about it before, because of the process of learning that we use. We also have the normal play boards. Initially, we do the chess pieces as counters and as a shape recognition, because shape recognition is pre-reading and pre-writing. So before we get to play. And when the children get to play, they start with one piece at a time. And they first walk with their bodies on the big mat before they start pushing. We start with the king, and the king can move one square at a time. And before they start playing with their friends and doing their bookworks, they walk like kings and they get their own crowns. So this was a very effective 3.5-month impact study by University of Pretoria. It was also the study was actually visited by ex-world chess champion Garry Kasparov, who visited the program. And he endorses this program as a chess in education program. I'd like to share with you now the study results from that 3.5 months impact study. So I know it's a very busy graph, but it's almost the last point of my presentation, just to share with you. At the bottom of the graph, there are 7 very important areas of development for young children. Children to be school ready and neurologically and emotionally, physically developed enough to get into formal learning. They have to test around 70–80% on all 7 areas. So the blue columns that you find here is where the children tested in the middle of the grade R year. And then we did the MiniChess program with half of the children, with 67 children. And we post-tested 3.5 months later. And you'll see that the children had 1 class of MiniChess with language, over language barrier. After only 3.5 months, they tested in 3 of the 7 areas. They tested, this is the average for the whole group, For perceptual development, they tested at 94% for their age. Reasoning ability, they tested at 96%, and memory at 96%. And what's important for numerical ability, they tested at 80% for their age. And spatial, the second one, spatial ability, when the children tested in the 20% before. And Gestalt, very important, which links to a problem-solving ability, they tested in the 30%, very, very bad. The MiniChess children had a more than 100% improvement in 3.5 months. And 3 years later, they were followed up. And the children who did the MiniChess program were all in grade 3 years later. And they were doing either well or very well with long-term benefit. Just where we come from, we actually got a lot of international recognition. And it's a program that moves over barriers of age, gender, culture, language. We are in many areas of the world, and our non-profit program in the non-profit and Trust Foundation also won many awards in our country. So this is the end of my slideshow. I'd like to stop sharing and give an opportunity for Malusi and Epinet to share, because when we go into disadvantaged communities, we go through local partners, and they are our local partners in their communities to share. Thank you for the opportunity.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Marisa. So Malusi, we'd love to hear your story. And I'm sure people around the country are just spellbound and enjoying listening to what you're hearing. So, and please feel free to share any thoughts or responses to what you heard in the chat. Malusi, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Louise. Yeah, you know, after such a beautiful presentation by Marisa, you don't know where to start. But I said to Marisa before we start the thing, I said, I will share from my experience and for the audience to get a picture of what the MiniChess looks like on the ground. I worked with schools around Pretoria, and I also worked outside. Oh, okay, just pause a little bit. I
think Malusi is just having some technical challenge.
Okay, no, we were sorting something out, but we are fine now. Thank you. Yes, that's the story. I'm gonna share a story of the MiniChess journey. I was saying that I worked with schools around Pretoria. I even worked outside Pretoria. Let me say countrywide. And I'm thinking of some couple of testimonies that will, you know, blow your mind, as you said. We want something that will blow our mind. I remember in the beginning of the program when Marisa trained us, she said, look, Malusi, this is it's an educational program, because remember, I was coming from the chess background and I had to remove the chess cap and put the educational cap. I must say it wasn't easy in the beginning. However, after understanding why should we build the neural pathways, and that was an eye-opener for me, because now we're changing the lives of the children. I want to use an example of one school in the Silverton area around Easteres. As I was doing my MiniChess classes there was a learner. The nickname of this young man was 1:25. And I wanted to understand from the children, from the teachers, why did they name this young man 1:25? Only to find out he was having some too much energy. What do they call them? Attention deficit disorder. And the MiniChess did some wonders with the boy. Behavior started to change as we are working with them, because now the MiniChess program, the holistic approach that we are using, the learner, I assume or presume that he wanted to move around, he wanted to touch things, he wanted to talk. But the MiniChess was the educational language for that particular boy, to a point that at the end of the year, the behavior was completely changed by the program. This is just one testimony in the Easteres area. However, the program impacted a lot of learners. We had almost 700 learners in that school. And I can tell, or I can attest that almost every learner benefited from the program. We saw sponsors growing in the program because of the feedback from educators, feedback from even the parents, the principals. You know, the story about the MiniChess is a long story. I'm talking about a 10 years plus story where we made an impact nationwide, even outside the country. Someone mentioned Queen of Katwe. It was Natalie, Queen of Katwe. I'll share a story of what happened last year in MLO and KZN. I'm also a coordinator in MLO and in Mpumazi KZN. And when the Children of the Dawn employed me, started working with the learners on the MiniChess program, and towards the end of the year, I think it was November, December last year, I said to my seniors, I said, I want to show our young ones the Queen of Katwe, because the story actually is an African story where, you know, someone from a background that is really, you know, disadvantaged, the program can turn them into, or give them an opportunity, you know, to even do much better in life. So the story on itself, when Natalie mentioned it, then I said, okay, this is a story that I showed the people in Mpumazi and in Emelo. So really the MiniChess program has made a lot of impact in the country. Through my observation, I happen to lead the program in 8 provinces. I'm talking before COVID. The impact of the program, I was leading a team of over 50 individuals, you know, where they will report to me of how the MiniChess is doing in their provinces, in their respective provinces. It's a life-changing program. You look at it from the educational, but you can also look at it from the communities, the impact in the communities, the companies that we work with, many companies, mining companies, you know, and we had a long-term relationship with them, I must say, because they could see the value of the program and how the program impacted the communities, from the schools even to the communities and the surroundings of those villages or townships. And I must say, I happened to go with Marisa in some couple of corporate world when we were looking for funds. And then the interesting thing is, when we started to present, because we are looking for funds for underprivileged areas, the guys in the boardrooms will say, but can you take this program to my school? Why? The MiniChess program is the program for children. It's not for program for under you know, privileged, but it deals with the mind. You train the mind. It's the brain training program. So even the guys could see that, no, really, this is not for privilege or underprivileged. It's the program for children. So this is what I can say. For those who don't know the program, please visit www.minichess. You will see we have a lot of stories. You can even go to our Facebook pages. It tells a whole lot of stories about the impact on the ground. By far, in all the schools that we have been into, in terms of the benefits of the MiniChess, there hasn't been program that come close to the MiniChess program. If you looked on Marisa's presentation, the 7 learning styles, tactile, oral, visual, social, there hasn't been any program yet, maybe in South Africa or the world, that can touch us in all those areas. Our MiniChess teachers, people, they say, are you guys teachers? Some of us, we don't have a teaching background, but the learning styles and the teaching styles fit exactly in the learners. They understand it. They grasp the concept. Thinking skills are easy to train, to implement. Behavior, especially. Behavior, because many teachers, they say, we're struggling with behavior. These children can't sit still. Yes, these are the 21st century children. You cannot expect to teach them the way things were being done in 1912. The MiniChess is very relevant to the time. The MiniChess program is a program to go for in terms of 24th century or the fourth industrial revolution. You saw on Marisa's presentation, it can link to coding. By teaching king, you know, the piece king, left, right, up, down, spatial concept, introduction to coding, it fit perfectly so. So that's what I can say about the MiniChess, and I would like to hear questions from our audience, because I can see I'm all over the place because I want to say so much in a little time, but I'll be interested to hear the questions from our audience, and then I can address them as per audience asks. Yeah, that's in short.
Thank you so much, Malusi. Malusi, we're going to come back. Well, let's create a space for if anybody has any questions from what you're saying before we hand over to Epineth. So we've heard lots from Marisa, and now we've heard from Malusi. And before we go to Epineth, just to kind of create a bit of interaction, anybody want to say something, make a comment, ask a question from Marisa or Malusi? You could just unmute yourself, and then we'd love to hear your voice. If we have any questions, Linda saying she has to go to another meeting. Anybody? It's a very quiet group of people, and this is not usually a quiet group of people. I don't know whether it's Mabusi. Thank you. We'd love to hear your voice.
Thank you. For me, it's not a question, it's just a comment. I'm just going to be honest, it's the first time I'm hearing about this program, and wow, I'm amazed. I'm really amazed. And yeah, I'm looking forward to more information. I'm going to go to the websites just to check as well. It's really is an amazing program. I just wish it can be just implemented throughout the schools in our country. Like, it sounds very insightful, amazing. Well done, guys.
And thank you, Mabusi. And I'm just looking, so you are a human resources, if my information correctly, you're a human resources consultant.
Definitely.
Do you agree, Mabusi, if more people had the opportunity to do this when they were children, when they come into the workplace, they're going to be better prepared for
I'm telling you, like, as Marisa and Malusi were talking, that's what was going on at the back of my mind. Like, wow, I think we should have done this. Like I'm even thinking now that we can even do it to the adult people.
Oh, for sure. So there's definitely something about we've missed an opportunity. Can we recover? Can we do a catch up with the adults when they're older? But for now, let's look at what we can do with the children. So it's lovely to hear.
Looking at all those skills, it's really like skills that adult people are struggling with in the workplace. I do like a lot of mentoring and coaching on decision making and problem solving. Like, you'll be amazed how those like senior people, they when you ask them like how do they solve their problems, and like that's why they keep having problems to solve, because they don't do proper problem solving. They don't have the skills. So yeah, I can just say.
So Marisa is saying, Marisa's just put in the notes, if anybody has some adults that they want to do some courses with, there's some options. And Marisa, maybe you want to offer one of those adult courses as a taster for people on this call, but that's for another conversation.
Yeah,
I'm conscious of, so Marisa's put that information in there. I'm conscious of time, but I do want to create, if anybody else wanted to say something. There was a message earlier from, so sorry, Epineth is saying we need to let her know when it's her time to speak. So I think we're going to hand over to you now, Epineth. So Marisa, I don't know whether you want to, whether she can hear us properly or whether we need to do something else. But Epineth, if you're able to unmute yourself, then we will hear from you. Is that...
Epineth is in the Hammanskraal region, north of Pretoria at the moment, where a school is having the program in. There's a private school in the school, and she's a teacher there. Just maybe for those of us who have not education background, the spatial ability of a child is the foundation for both math, reading and writing. It's seated in the left brain and is developed through the vestibular system in the inner ear. And when people have backlogs in that area, it will be devastating for their school career. And that is what we are seeing in our country.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Eponeth?
So yeah, so I just want to check. It looks like Eponeth might be having some technical challenges because she's not hearing us. Oh, there you go, Eponeth. We would love to hear from you. Are you able to switch your video on or not? Eponeth, can you hear us?
Can you see me?
Yeah, it looks like there's a technical challenge, Marisa.
Eponeth has got such an amazing story. It was the Eponeth story that I'd like her to share with you. I'm sorry that
I'm in a meeting.
Ah, there she's coming. There she's coming.
No, she's coming, but let me just check. Eponeth, can we actually hear you? No, now she's dropped off, I think.
Yeah, because Eponeth actually.
Okay, now. See, the thing is, if it's not, if the sound is not working, then it's just a frustration. So let's just give it one last chance. Eponeth, are you able to speak?
Oh, there.
Here. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? If you hear me, then I
We
can
hear you.
continue.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
still hearing from my side.
Mm.
You can.
Eponeth, we can hear you. So I think you need to speak.
I'm sorry. Please. Oh. Oh, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I didn't hear everything that
So Eponeth, Eponeth, can you hear me?
because of the side from what Marisa told me on the phone. I'm just sharing with you my.
So what we're going to do, unfortunately, guys, we're going to have to mute Eponeth because it's just not possible for us to hear her, Marisa. So maybe if you want to share a video of Eponeth on the African Leadership Group, then people who are on the group can see that. So sorry about that. It's sometimes just better to just make the decision that we can't hear and that we need the technology is letting us down in this case. So we've come to the end then. If we're not going to be able to hear from Eponeth, we've come to the end of the session, and we want to make sure that we create any opportunities that anybody want to say something or ask a question or engage with Marisa and Malusi. So anybody, Eponeth, can we hear you now? No, I don't think so. I think we need to accept that connection is not working, very sadly. And create a final opportunity for anybody who wants to share a response to what you've heard so far. We've heard some amazing things about what's happening. It's an amazing program doing with wonderful impact. Oh my goodness, those impact studies are just amazing. My hope is that you have kind of fallen in love with what the MiniChess group are doing. Natalie's saying so inspired, would love to explore it. She's going to be in touch, Marisa. So at least Natalie is in love. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Natalie. Anybody else want to share? Christina says it's amazing. She's going to contact you through your website. If there was another way of them contacting you, Marisa, if you want to put that into the chat, feel free to do that. It looks like everybody else is. Oh, there you go. Natasha, we'd love to hear from you. Just unmute yourself. There you go.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say we had a course training with Marisa beginning of January. So I did level RR and level 1, and a colleague of mine did up until level 2, right? So I spoke to Marisa about this conversation and didn't remember what was the response. However, and I said to her that I want to be involved, I want to be part of the change. However, obviously, for us to go to underprivileged schools, we need sponsors, you know. So I just wanted to ask, what does she think can be a way forward? Because I have brothers and they are in schools, public schools, you know, and ever since I did the course, I just started taking notes in the academics, in their reading, their maths, you know. This program makes you aware of a lot of things. It makes you understand things differently and a lot better. So I wanted to ask Marissa, what could be the way forward in order for us to get the message across, and not just to private schools, but to many more public schools around the country? Could anybody have a solution as to how can we spread the message? You know, thank you.
So Louise, can I jump in?
Yes,
I just
please
want to
do.
say, so when we go into schools and communities, obviously it's very interesting, both Natalie and Nadine and her colleague, they did training from a private school in Table View, and I just want to share with you, it's a very special school, Shalanti Private School, and they service children on the autism spectrum and children with learning challenges. And they use MiniChess as part of in their curriculum from grade R to grade 3 inside the curriculum. And after they started with doing the MiniChess program already a few years ago, they could actually stop a lot of the other programs that they were doing, because it's a very holistic, integrated learning platform with a very good impact. The point is this, that children, all of us, we don't learn to make healthy decisions by taking instruction. We learn to make decisions by making decisions. And that is what our play platform gives to children. It teaches them consequence and trust in themselves, that they can make decisions and succeed. And it's a complete level playing field. You know, they have exactly the same pieces when they start to play. Their teams are equally strong. And they've got a chance. As long as you're there, you've got a chance of making a difference and having success. So it's such a powerful teaching tool on many, many levels. But there are two basic main beneficiaries in our program. The one is the children who receives this program, and the school, if the school takes it in, the school has got a lot of benefit from that. And the other leg is our in-community partners, whom we train and take hands with to go and present the program, because they get trained, they get mentored, continuous training. We've got a huge focus on supporting our teams out there, and they also generate an income. And that is very important to make a sustainable long-term program. So yes, in the poor communities, we need CSI funding. And of course, it's difficult that the Entrust Foundation, work with the Entrust Foundation. I've sent my email addresses, put it in the chat. Contact us. And of course, the Entrust Foundation is a non-profit public benefits organization with Section 18A, PBO Section 18A status, and it's run by a trust. They will be able to take hands with you, so we can try to go to a school or a group of schools in your community. This is very important for us. We have to empower our youth with more that we are currently doing. I can just see Epineth. I'll also put a video later on. Thank you, Louise, for the invite. But Epineth is such a brilliant story, because when she became a MiniChess teacher, she practiced the classes on her daughter, Renilwe, who was in primary school. So she practiced the lessons on Renilwe at home. And Renilwe then started to become a top performer in her primary school in Makapanstad, and northern part of Gauteng. And she then eventually did so well that she got a bursary to go to one of the top private schools, like many of our Mamelodi kids as well, and Easter's, they get bursaries to go to the German school. But Renilwe, Epineth's daughter, she got a bursary to go to in the Eastern Cape to one of the top schools in the country. And she just matriculated, and she did excellently So her daughter, she got an excellent matric from that school. MiniChess were the instigator for her. And Epeneth, I take my hat off. She has been doing this at many schools together with non-profits and within Trust Foundation, and also to self-paying schools. And as a single mother, she bought her own car, she built her own house. She's an independent person making a big difference in her community, but also in her family. I take my hat off to her.
That is an amazing story, and I'm sorry that we're not hearing the story, but I think you should put a video about Epeneth and load that on the website. So beautiful stories of impact, of people's lives being changed, of just amazing things happening around the country. I wanted to give one last opportunity if anybody wanted to say something. I was seeing that Sonia from Math Mums is on here. She said amazing. You know, it feels like there's a very strong connection between what Math Mums are doing and what you want to do. And I'm wondering where the opportunities might be. Anybody else want to say briefly just their response to what you've heard so far, or shall we maybe we should accept that lots of people have lots to do, and we've come to the end of this call. But thank you very much for Marisa. Thank you so much, Malusi, and then sorry, Mabusi, and then Epeneth, who was willing to speak, even though she's not able to do that because of technology. So we appreciate you being on this call. Samantha, I see you've got unmuted. Did you want to say anything else?
Oh no, I must have unmuted by mistake.
My mistake. Okay. So yeah, Marisa, who knows? You know, you never know. We will also post the recording of this call, and then people can watch that afterwards and maybe get in touch. But good luck with the important work you're doing, and thank you for changing lives around the country.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. We're very collaborative character. We'd love to work with you if we can add value.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day, everybody. Have a good afternoon and evening.
Thank you, Louise.
Bye.